Hello, and thanks again for joining us for another Fathom Live, a live stream show dedicated to giving you tips and insights from experts in and around the real estate industry. I'm your host, Jeff Sturtz. Glad to be with you today. Maybe this is your first time. If you haven't yet, go over to YouTube. Well, like our Facebook page and go over to YouTube and hit the notification bell. That way, when we do go live, you're notified right away, right on your mobile device or whatever you're on, and you can be notified of our show that's going live. So help yourself out with that. Also, considering that today is 9/11 or Patriot Day, I would like to say on behalf of Fathom, thank you. Thank you to those who are our first responders, those who serve, the men and women who serve in arms, both foreign and abroad, and protect our country. And thank you to the families whose loved ones, those in the household, do that and protect and serve us. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We could not enjoy what we enjoyed without you. And also we'd like to express our sympathy to those families who've lost loved ones, from those who've served and from the tragic events that happened on this day years ago. So wanted to say thank you and express our sympathies there. I am excited for today's show. We have our guest Sean Varin with us today, and so he's going to be joining us here in just a moment. But I do want to make mention of our contest that we have each week. If you comment during the show today, whether that's on Facebook or YouTube, you are automatically entered into a drawing, and we're going to do it today on the show for last week's show, to win one of four prizes. You can win a yard sign package up to $200, a photo listing package up to $200 of value. You can win an OnTarget transaction if they're operating in your area, as well as $200 worth of leads service from GoSocial Agents Lead Service. So you get your choice, and that's kind of cool. And it's really simple. You just say, hey, this is me from whatever, North Carolina or Virginia or wherever you're at. Go ahead and just comment. And if you share the post right now, you get entered again into the drawing. So that would be for Facebook. So let's go ahead and see who won last week's contest here with our handy dandy spinner. And here we go. There it is. You can hear it this week. You can see it spinning. And our winner is that person. I can't read it. It is Anna Perez. Anna Perez, you are the winner. So we'll be reaching out to you so you can take advantage of that prize. So thanks for participating, and hopefully you all are jumping in there, sharing comments right now. So before we jump in with our guest Sean, I want to remind you about GoSocial Agent. If you want to increase your presence on social media, have a sharper image there on social media, check out the people at GoSocialAgent.com. They will help you get your account set up and looking snappy. They'll help you with automated posting, agent branded articles, buyer and seller handbooks that are actually branded with your information on it, as well as Facebook ad campaigns that you can run. And again, it helps you grow your online community and generate leads. So check them out at GoSocialAgent.com. Again, our guest today is Sean Varin. Sean, I keep saying Varin and Varin. It's Varin. Right?
Varin is correct.
I'm right. Okay. All right.
You got it.
Varin, like Varin. Okay. All right. Sean Varin, thank you so much for joining. But when it comes to your name, though, you have another name that you go by in a different context. Windstar Willie.
That's my weekend name.
Tell me about Windstar Willie.
Oh, it's a little nickname that I picked up. I tend to probably frequent Windstar a little bit more often than I should, but because of that frequency, I actually earned the name Windstar Willie. We tend to play a bunch of roulette up there, and it was a joke when that name came out a couple times, but now my host actually gets me shirts with, say, Windstar Willie on it, so my name is picked up down there.
Wow, you actually have T-shirts. That's pretty fantastic. So I'm not a casino goer, but if I did, I could walk in and I would say, hey, I want to see Windstar Willie, and they would know where to take me. at the WinStar.
Head to the roulette tables and ask for Roulette Willie, and they'll look for myself and my other partner in crime.
Okay, and then it's roulette. And roulette's a game, you say, of statistics, and you're a numbers guy.
There are a lot of statistics, but we try to use one rule, and that's spray and pray.
Very good. Now, just a little background on you here. You're an entrepreneur. You have started more than one business and have been in both real estate and the mortgage business for 15, 20 years.
Yeah, real estate probably a little over 20 years, then the mortgage business 15 years.
Yeah. And also, your first business was a little bit of a paradox because you started a bar before you were 21.
I did. We started it when I was 20.
Is that legal?
It is legal because of the partners I had were of age, so
Gotcha.
We were able to enjoy that.
So, as a businessman, having started several, what are some of the key lessons that you've learned? Let's say on the positive side of things, what have you learned in doing business over these years?
Well, what I've learned, Jeff, in all businesses, and it really doesn't matter what industry, what business it is, relationships is everything. You want to make sure that you're somebody that people want to gravitate to and work with, and make sure you're putting out positive vibes. But, it's kind of like, I liken it to the fact of your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your kids, right? You want to have a nice, tight relationship with them. And for me, my success came from having great relationships, working hard. And for me, it's communication, right? If you think about all relationships in life, if you communicate well, they tend to thrive and do better.
So relationships is the key, and that is a thing that we keep hearing again and again. And we're going to talk about the lender realtor relationship here in just a moment. But usually we save these questions for the end of the show, but I thought it would be kind of fun to switch things around here. What are some things over the years that you have learned where you would say, I think I would do that differently, or if you were coaching a person getting into a business that you would advise them on?
Yeah, no, it's always a great question. I always answer first by saying, every mistake we've made has been a learning lesson, and it's made us who we are today and allows us to make decisions based on that experience. But being through several businesses, I would say, be great at one thing. Start out being great at one thing. A quick story: when I first got into the mortgage business, I came into this thing, guns a-blazing, and I started a mortgage company, real estate company, title company, insurance company. All that within the first year. But let me just tell you, it failed. It failed because I was a jack of all trades, a master of none. So, I highly suggest when I'm coaching people, focus on one thing and be great at it. Once you become great at it, then you can expand your horizons.
Very good. Very good. So let's talk about the lender-realtor relationship. And you've been on the real estate side, but you've now been in the mortgage business for 15 years, and so have a lot of experience under your belt leading a mortgage branch there. Why is what you call relationship equity so important between the real estate agent and the lender?
Well, I learned quickly, Jeff, that the relationship is going to be the key to my success and survival in this industry. Again, I've been doing this 15 years. I was an originator for 10 years. And if you do the math, I came into it basically a year before the mortgage meltdown and the crash. So we had to learn very quickly, how to survive. And what I learned through the process is that relationships are so important to help get you through any times, the good and the bad. So, we focus on that relationship and making sure it's a mutually beneficial relationship, but it's done with respect. We look for partners. We never want to be the mortgage company, or you don't want to be associated with a mortgage company that's just got their hand out asking for business. You want to make sure that relationship is reciprocal and make sure that partnership is nice and tight. I literally tell all originators and people is like, your realtors, your agents should be almost like your second wife or your second husband, or that relationship is so important, and it's got to be that tight. Otherwise, your clients will feel that, and neither one of us will get referral business. So that relationship is very, very important.
Very good. From your perspective, from the lending company's perspective, what are the most important traits of a real estate agent?
Hopefully honesty, positive attitude, and professionalism. Those are people, when I'm looking for building relationships, those are the type of people that I want to associate myself with, because again, without having that core relationship. Look, everybody knows things go south in the mortgage business and in the real estate business. It's how we react to those and how we work together through those that determine whether it's successful or not, and whether we can both ask for referral business. So that relationship has got to be nice and tight. And I just through experience, look, I've been doing this 15 years, originator for 10 years. I've funded over $1 billion, which equates to about 5,500 home loans.
Wow.
And everything is about relationships. I couldn't have done that without having good, solid core relationships. And that means from a lender perspective to an agent is, yes, we do fire agents, because if they're not representing us well, if we're not cohesive in it,
Right.
it's going to be detrimental to our reputation.
We had Richard Schaefertz on a couple of different, I think a couple of weeks ago, from a title company, and he said a lot of these kind of things as well, and just how you're working together as a team to represent each of yourselves mutually, and there's so many hands that touch these transactions before it hits the closing table, and just the importance of that. So if you haven't checked our show yet, go back and watch that as well for our viewers. I'd like you to, if you would, speak to kind of maybe demystifying some of the things that maybe agents think wrongly about. And I know from our conversation a couple of different times, sometimes agents, will think, I need this pre-approval now, and get it to me in 5 minutes, kind of thing. What would be helpful to our agents viewing to kind of help think rightly about the process of getting a loan started and other things?
Yeah, no, clarity in the pre-approval process is going to probably be huge. Whether you're a very seasoned agent or a new agent, that is probably the number one step that you need to learn and understand. I know everybody sees on TV that pre-approval is going to be done in 5 minutes. We're rocket fast. Well, let me tell you something. That's not true. Follow those up, and those are the horror stories that you see on the news about my closing didn't happen, or I lost my earnest money, I lost my option money because of that. Pre-approvals, to do it right, and for me to sign off on my pre-approvals, that means that's my reputation's on the line. I'm going to ask for supporting documentation. We kind of here we talk about we are CIA agents, okay? And for us, that's credit, income, and assets. First and foremost, I have to have that credit, income, and assets for analysis. And even when we get those, then we start peeling the onion back and diving deeper. Unfortunately, everybody's got hiccups and hurdles they've had to overcome, whether it be bankruptcies, foreclosures, divorces, student loans, and things like that. If you're not peeling that onion back at the beginning, it's going to be detrimental to the success of that transaction, which really comes back to then I'm jeopardizing my relationship with the agent. And I talk a lot about reputation, Jeff, and where that's really important is, as when I first got into the business, I'd start building, relationships, and like, hey, Sean, I really need this pre-approval. They're rock solid. I know they don't have your information, or they haven't provided your information yet, but can you give me that pre-approval letter? Well, right. When you're new into the business, sometimes you make some bad decisions, and I'd be like, okay, I'm telling you, and I haven't seen anything, but I'm going to give you this pre-approval letter based on what you're telling me. Well, I learned very early because I had an agent that received my pre-approval letter. They called me up and said, hey, Sean, I saw you're on it. I know you're good as gold. I just want to verify, have you seen everything? I learned that lesson right there because, ethics, I couldn't speak. I couldn't tell them, yes, I have seen it. I had to tell them, right. Everything's verbal. I pulled credit, but I don't have the documentation. So I learned very early that I'll never let that happen again, because not only is it with the reputation of the buyer's agent, but it's my reputation with the seller's agent as well. I've been doing this 15 years, and people in this area do know my name. And when they see it on a coming in with an offer, I like them to know it's good as gold and I've done my job. So that's where I really tell it's about not just the agent, but it's about the transaction and doing it right. And doing it right means get the documentation up front.
I want to ask you a little bit more about the pre-approval in a few minutes here. But if I'm out, Parkmont Lending is a great company, but if I'm out as an agent shopping, maybe I'm new in an area, or I haven't really settled in working with a specific loan officer, or maybe they've moved on and I'm looking, again. What would you say are key characteristics to look for in a loan officer that I can really work with?
Yeah, as you're out, I've had the luxury of having both a real estate license and working from a real estate side and the lending side. And now knowing what I do, any agents in this business, what I would encourage you to do is, do a little research on it. We all say, look at their surveys, look at the reviews. Honestly, that stuff is easily manipulated.
Right.
So you have to be cautious. It's good to have a brag book and it's good to see those things, but go beyond that. Go ahead and spend a little extra time. And what I mean by that is free access to going and looking at our NMLSs. When I look at hiring originators, I immediately go to the NMLS to see how many companies have they been with. And if I'm an agent and I pull that data up and I see that we've got a loan officer who's been with 5 companies in the last 3 years, huge red flag, because they're bouncing around for a reason. They're not setting up their files properly. They're blaming their files. And so many times we have loan officers that, even that come to interview with us, they blame their companies, and it has nothing to do with the company. They just don't do a good job. And so that's where you have to be cautious. So I would recommend doing that and looking at the MLS, and that's a huge indicator. If you see somebody's been at a place for 3 to 5 years, that's a good indicator. Okay, this is a pretty solid loan originator. Personality, if you're anything like me and you're gonna really work those hours, you want to work with somebody that you can get along with. The last thing I need to do is get a phone call from an agent that I don't like. I see their name, I'm like, oh no. You want to have a great working relationship. So you're like, hey, hey, Chris, great, glad you called. How can I help you? It's like we want to work together. Like I said, that needs to be your wife, your husband, your best friend. That's what we do. We befriend all the agents, and if you have that relationship, then you're going to be successful, and so is the originator.
Yeah, and you're all on the same team. I mean, you're all trying to help your client and get things to the closing table in the best way possible. So, what would you say is the job of a loan officer, if you were to kind of boil it down? I mean, the loan officers, my understanding is the majority of them have to hunt for their work, and so they're like realtors in a sense that way, where they're out looking for looking for business. But we talked with Richard before as well about there's the transactional kind of person that's just always trying to get that next transaction. There's a relational person that you've mentioned. But as far as just what if you could boil it down, what would you say is the essence of the job of a loan originator?
Our job, first and foremost, is to protect the client and the realtor. That's our number one job. And when I take on the responsibility, when somebody contacts me, I take on responsibility knowing I have to protect their option, their earnest, the appraisal, the inspection. These clients are about to spend a lot of money, and it's my job, it's an originator's job to protect those funds and protect the money, because let's be honest, we do a lot of financing, it's 100% financing. These people don't have a lot of extra money, all right? For them to lose $500, $1,000, $1,500, it hurts. So I take that responsibility very personal, and I want to make sure I protect them. And so by protecting the client, we are protecting the agent. And that's where, again, I say get the information up front with pre-approvals. Open lines of communication with the client and the agent. So many times there's so many games going on. Open conversations. Get permission to speak openly to everybody. Become one unit. And I promise you, if you do that and you have great working relationship with everybody, you're going to have successful transactions. And when you do that, your business will thrive, guaranteed.
We had a question from Lisa Teeters. She said, what are documents that I can have my buyers get together for a lender to be prepared for a pre-approval? Lisa, that was actually a question that I have on my list here, but we'll go ahead and get to it now, and I'll remind our viewers, if you have questions for Sean, throw them out here. We'd love to be able to field those and have Sean take a swing at them. But maybe speak to that, Sean, if you would. If you were to tell your buyers to get ready, before they even call you, what kind of stuff should they have ready?
Yeah, great question, Lisa. And that's something that's very important because you play actually a very pivotal role in allowing us to do things faster. We try to get those pre-approvals done as quickly as possible so the agent can help. And, kind of like what I talked about, we have our acronym here, CIA, anything related to credit, income, and assets. And so what we mean by that is pay stubs for the last 30 days, bank statements for the last 60 days, tax returns for the last 2 years. We actually have to go 3 years back if they're doing down payment assistance programs, if they happen to have some hiccups in the past. Foreclosures, bankruptcies, divorces, things like that. Have them gather that information up when you're first interviewing them or you're first sitting down with them and getting their wants and desires on a house. please talk about that, that process of getting pre-approved, and anything, again, credit, income, or asset related, have them start gathering the documentation, and then go one step further is get them in contact with a lender and encourage them to get that information over to them immediately. If they're slow with getting the data over, or the documentation over to the loan officer, then it's going to create a wedge between actually you and the loan officer, right? Because you're like, hey, Sean, I need that pre-approver. I need it. Great. Hey, Lisa, I need you to help me get those documents from the client, because I want to know when I give it to you, they're good as gold. I don't want any surprises happening down the road. Another part of our job as a lender is protecting the agent's commissions. We realize when you give us a referral, you're handing us your check to make sure it gets to the table. So that's another thing we take very personal is I know you're giving and trusting me with the ability to get it to the table, and I have to protect you. Nothing like trying to get a $10,000 commission and the deal blows up because the loan officer didn't do a good job and you're 2 days out from closing. A lot of times that money's already spent, right? We gotta. Our job is to help protect that as well.
So if I'm hearing you right, then I have a relationship with my client. They're excited to go around shopping for homes, or maybe sell their home or whatever. I guess especially would be shopping for homes in this scenario. But I would say from the get-go, then, hey, as we're going to get started here, here's some documents to get ready right away, and give them that list, and then let's get you in touch with the loan officer that we're going to be working with here, and make sure that we've got that process started right away, so we know what kind of house that we're looking for.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But you actually did speak correctly when you thought you weren't. It's actually more important to get a seller pre-approved as well, because you do hear the horror stories where, oh, my agent came in, sold my house, I can't even qualify to buy my next house. That's horrible. They've taken their kids out of school. Right. They've taken their families out of this house. And next thing you know, they have to go into an apartment or hotel because they didn't get pre-approved. So whether they're representing the sellers or representing the buyers, they're both very important to get pre-approved for many reasons.
Buyer or seller, right from the get-go, let's get you in touch with our lender and make sure everything's squared away there.
They call it pre-approval for a reason. So, we try to have a philosophy of, even if you can't get a client done now, we never say no, we say not now. And so when you're going through that pre-approval process, it's our job to identify maybe where some gaps are, and it could be cash to close. So when we do cash to close, we got to find out, is it mattress money? And believe me, we do have people that literally have $10,000 in cash sitting in their mattress. Well, you just can't bring that to the table. You can't take that to the title company. So we have to source and season those. So to take the sourcing out of it, you take that money and you put it in a bank account and you season it for 60 days. Then you begin the process. And then you don't have to worry about somebody trying to find out where that money came from. So it's pre-approval. It may not be, let's rock and roll right now. We have to find out and make sure that this client is truly ready to go. Probably the number one challenge that most agents have is we write people under contract that aren't ready. And then we jump all over the loan officer saying, get it done, get it done, get it done. We can only work with what we can work with. Right. And so our job is to pre-approve, set it up for a nice, smooth transaction. And believe me, if it means waiting 30 days, 60 days, it'll be worth it. You're going to have a positive client experience and be able to ask for referrals. If you go the other way, nobody wins. I promise you that. Nobody wins.
Well, we were in a situation that ourselves, my wife and I, when we bought our first home, we got a pre-approval letter, and it was coming time to buy the house, and they went to the underwriter, and they said, no, you're not ready. And we had to do a lot of hoop jumping to be able to get the place that we were looking for. So we've experienced that, and it is very, very frustrating to think that you're all set and you're not. Somebody said keyword is funded on our comments. So and you're welcome, Lisa, for that. So if there's any other questions too, again, for our viewers, please be sure to throw them out here. Let's say I have the scenario where I, as a buyer or seller, I've worked with a loan officer previously, and I really enjoy the relationship with them. But I have a new realtor, and I come to them and say, "Hey, I'd really like to work with this loan officer." What would you recommend to our agents in that scenario to do? Is that a good idea to be able to do that, or any caution on that?
Well, first, I love to hear that they had a good loan officer. The challenge there is you don't know who drove the bus. Was it they had a really good agent that was able to keep everybody on point. Because Richard, he talked about a couple weeks ago, it's like 32 to 37 different people involved when you're doing a transaction between your title companies, appraisal companies, survey companies, lenders, and escrow officers and assistants and stuff. So was it the loan officers that good, or was it the agent? Because as an agent in the past, I felt it was my job to control it and to make sure that everything is going to run smooth. So in that scenario, as an agent, I would say, hey, I love the fact you had a great experience with them, but here's what I'd love to challenge you with. Have a conversation with some of my referral partners. The reason I work with them is it's about I know them and we can work together. Should a mishap arise, anything we need to work through, I can reach them after hours. I don't know, and I'm not saying that the loan officer wasn't accessible and wasn't there for you, but I have built a team around me for the reason of protecting you, Mr. and Mrs. Client. That's my job as an agent, is to protect you and make sure that we've got the right team around you to handle anything. So I would just encourage them to speak with my partner and see if that might be a good fit for them, because as an agent, I'm going to be honest with my clients and say it's a control thing. I don't know your other loan officer. I have no control over that loan officer. And when I say control, I mean professionally, right? I'm not trying to use
over
as
the
a
transaction.
Negative,
yeah.
Of the transaction. So I just need to know that my partners, whether it be Chris Mitchell at Title, if I have a relationship and something arises on Title, I know I can call Chris Mitchell, or if I need better photos, you can call Charles and get, so I want to work with my team for all the reasons of providing you better support. And that's where I probably go at it with clients that have somebody in the past.
Jim asks, what are the keys to success in working with a loan officer who is out of the area? I don't know if that goes to kind of what we talked about, or...
Yeah, the beauty of technology right now is I'd be venture to say 99% of our business, we never see the client. And so part of the process when you're interviewing, and I would set up not only, find out if it's a good personality match, but if you can meet face-to-face, that's always great. You can get a good vibe. But I actually encourage you to do a phone conversation with anybody that you'd be interviewing, because 99% of the transactions are done via phone or email or text with consumers. So you really want to find out, are they good on the phone? Because it may be actually more important that they're stronger on the phone than maybe their appearance or something like that. So I would definitely encourage doing a phone call with them as an interview process.
So it's kind of like the opposite of dating advice. You might have a really great, relationship with this person you've never met over the phone, but you really got to have a sit down and, in-person thing with them. All right, so with loan officers, we got to flip that around. So, because it could be the sound of the voice just annoys the daylights out of you, and you just say, no, I can't do that.
It could, but to go back to her question, having somebody out of the area, with today's technology and how consumers are doing business, really the face-to-face is going to be those agents, and so that's why that's important. But your lender, it's not as important. I would say just making sure that they're accessible. That's going to be number one key. Like for me, my success has been built because of hard work ethic, over communicating, and accessibility. And so you have to be able to, as an originator and even an agent, that relationship, they have to know, that agent has to know they can pick up the phone and talk to you. And so accessibility is huge. And with technology, I don't think that should be a concern for you.
Alan asks, what kind of closing costs or down payment assistance do you offer to first-time home buyers? And I also kind of want to tack onto that. I meant to ask you, are there scenarios in which, I'm sure there are, but I'd like to hear kind of your thoughts on scenarios in which people don't think that they can afford to buy a home, or they have in their head that it's going to be a certain percentage down payment and they just don't have that in the bank, but there's other options. So maybe talk about the first-time home buyer thing and then other options like that as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's so funny. I just got done watching a show on the news, and it's like people still believe they need 20% to buy a home. And so we, in this industry, we as lenders and realtors have to make sure we're getting that message out there. Speaking generically, you've got USDA, you've got VA, you have city grants, and you also have national grants. So there's still ability to get into homes with 100% financing. So we've got to make sure that message is out there. Your conventional is 3% to 5% down. But if you wanted less than that, obviously you've got FHA at 3.5%. But your USDA is 100%. If they're a past veteran or a current veteran, they can qualify with VA loans, which is 100% financing. And then taking advantage of the down payment assistance programs that are out there, you can get 100% financing. I just caution you this on the down payment assistance programs. They do take longer to process, depending on what kind of program it is, if it's a city, a county, or a national program, because some of them want you to basically, as a lender, to do the full approval and then send the file for them to review. They do have income restrictions, so you have to pay attention, very close attention to that. There's clients out there that make $150,000 and they're trying to do DPA. They all have restrictions. Somebody like that doesn't go down the path of DPA. But there are programs that you can do. Specifically to Parkmont, we've got probably 5 or 6 DPAs that we participate in. I'll just tell you we get a lot. Common questions are, well, how come not all loan officers do DPAs? Okay, I just tell you, transparency, honestly, DPAs don't pay. All right, there's no money in down payment assistance program. That's why a lot of investors as a whole don't participate. And so what they'll do is they'll put FICO restrictions, 640 or greater, and so that takes out some programs. But I tell you, that's why they steer clear from them. There's not a lot of money. It's a lot of work. And even by trying to set expectations with agents on it, sometimes the agents are just a little bit rambunctious, and you've got to realize you're looking at a little bit longer cycle depending on the down payment assistance program.
So then, I mean, as far as it not being a moneymaker for you, then you would view that as an investment. I mean, this is somebody that needs to get in a home. You help them, and perhaps they're going to turn around and they're going to go work through you again.
Absolutely. How I look at it is it's about the relationship with the agents. I never want an agent to go, I got this type of client. Can Sean do this loan or not do this loan?
Right.
I don't care. I'll take, if I break even, I break even. I always want that agent to think, I'm calling Sean. Sean can do everything. So when you're talking about those relationships with your lender, make sure you've got somebody that's got that can-do attitude, and we'll do it. I know other loan officers out there could be cringing right now because they're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do. They are a lot of work. They're a tremendous amount of work. But I'm putting my business hat on. This is about building relationships and building business. To build a business, you do everything. And you never want your referral sources, meaning agents, to ever have to question, can Sean do this or can Sean not do this? For us, we're set up with 50 different investors. We signed up with 50 different investors to be able to have this huge suite of products and programs that we can offer to the agents, so they never have to ask, can we do this or can we not do that? Just send them our way.
All right, so this is fair warning for our viewers. This is a Parkmont specific question, okay? So, but little plug for you for coming on the show today. Jim asked, does Parkmont currently participate in HECM? And I will be totally transparent. I'm ignorant of what that means, so maybe you can speak to that.
HECM loan, it's a reverse mortgage.
Okay.
So Parkmont does do reverse mortgages. And so we have the access to do them. Not a lot of people do them. Not a lot of loan officers will go down that path because, again, they're loans that are done few and far between. But to answer your question, yes, we do them. We will get them to specialists that do them right. That's what we want to protect the client and obviously protect your relationship. And HECMs are reverse mortgage, but they're also mortgages. If somebody owns a property, has got a ton of equity, you can do purchases with reverse mortgages as well.
Very good. Thank you. And thanks for filling in my ignorance there. So let's just talk a little bit beyond the transaction itself. And your company offers some unique ways to help in this. How can a lending company help the agent to continue to grow their business beyond just the specific transaction?
Yeah, and I'll speak generically about it. I'm not going to constantly plug Parkmont Lending. But when you're working with a lender and your loan officer partner, because that's what it should be. It should be a partner relationship. You want to make sure they've got other things other than just doing transactions, doing loans for you. And what I mean by that is, do they have any products or programs or specific to them that help you? We focus on growing your business or saving you money. And so examples of programs like that are, do they have a post-closing program? For us, we call it our loyalty program. Do they market out for you on your behalf, co-branded with you for 3 years or 36 months? You want to find a partner that's going to invest in you. So having those programs, we've got post-closing program. It's our loyalty program. But also, a lot of agents, they focus on listings. Do they have any programs beyond just doing flyers. Again, for us, we've got list reports, list booster, things like that actually help drive traffic to your listing. And when we're driving traffic, that equals leads, and so that takes it to the next level. Are they helping you work those leads? You can increase your close ratio on any type of lead. I don't care what the leads are, where they come from, by having 2 people call versus 1 person call. I'll guarantee you will get more success out of that and better return on investment on that. So, when you're working with your partner, do they do things like that? Are they willing to invest time in you and invest money in you? And so, again, that's a dangerous statement to make, is invest money, because now I got 1,000 realtors be like, hey, Sean, I want money. I know, everybody does. But what I tell everybody is I encourage everybody to do at least 1 to 2 transactions together. The last thing you want to do is sign up into a contract, whether it be, realtor.com or some other type of Facebook or, different types of marketing. You sign a 12-month commitment and you haven't done a deal together, and you get into your first deal and it just doesn't go well. You get into the next deal and you're like, wow, I don't need this relationship. This is not going to work. Well, would you want to have a lease with your boyfriend or girlfriend that you break up in 3-4 months and you still got another 8 months on your lease? No, you don't want to do that. So I always encourage everybody to at least close a deal or 2. Make sure you're compatible. Make sure you're going to work well together. Then you sit down and say, okay, what kind of marketing ideas do you have? And then you got to remember, a good originator is probably seeing, I don't know, I'd say 3, 4, 5 times the amount of volume that a typical agent would. So we see different ideas. We see things that are working or not working. So, when we have people speak to us, we do try to help advise them, because your money is just as important to protect as well. So sometimes we'll give some honest feedback. You may not like it because you may think this is a home run, and we'll go down that path with you. But we try to work together. Look, it's all about return on investment, right? Every agent, you are your own business, and you have to do an analysis saying, am I spending it in the right spot? When I am spending it, am I getting transactions? You have to run it like a business, and we'll help you do that. A good partner should help you do that.
I want to ask you 2 follow-ups on that. The one is, Richard a couple weeks ago had mentioned about using the low interest rates to be able to call your clients that are not necessarily looking for a home, but a good way to touch base with them and say, hey, this might be a great time for a refinance. Are you finding that agents are using that as a great resource to be able to connect and continue to serve their maybe past clients for
Absolutely.
New referrals?
That's a great tip, and you see the seasoned ones doing it. We see the seasoned ones that have assistants actually doing the smiling and dialing. But even if you don't have an assistant, I promise you it's worth the time to call and say, this is a value add that I provide to my clients. I want to just check up on you. How's the house? There is a possibility you might be able to take advantage of the current market interest rates. Would you like me to have somebody reach out to you? You should do that for insurance as well, because what we see is the agents end up picking up listings because perfect timing. We were actually thinking about moving.
Right.
And so now you got a listing, possibly a buy. So your database is the most precious gold you have. These are people that should be raving fans about you. If you are not going back to your databases, then shame on you. You're missing out on a big, big opportunity. And I know the call reluctancy that we hear for agents, and this goes for originators as well, is, I just don't know what to say, or I don't want to do a cold call. It's not a cold call. These are your past clients that you've done an excellent job for. This is called a value add. When you reach out to them, let them know that I'm always watching out for you, Mr. and Mrs. Client. And right now, with the current interest rates where they are, maybe you want to take advantage of that. You can do your insurance reviews. You can make sure you're reaching out in January for your tax protests. There's so much stuff you need to be doing going back to your current database. It's a gold mine.
So follow up on that then here. Let's say I get on the phone with somebody and they say, well, we're actually, looking at moving in a year and a half. Would it make sense to refinance now? How would I respond to that as an agent?
Yeah, put my lending hat on, I would say typically it's not advantageous to do a refinance, but you know what, to give you that peace of mind that you made the right decision, maybe can I have my person contact you and just do a real quick analysis? Right. But typically we don't see a break even that fast. I mean, your typical break even could be 36 months, but that's generically speaking. If somebody's in a 6 or 7 interest rate, it may. You just never know. But you can at least look like an expert and say, hey, most of the time it's not advantageous, but wouldn't you rather have the peace of mind from an expert looking at it and giving you that information? And then now, again, they're going to look at you and go, man, Lisa, I really appreciate you calling and, giving me that direction. I didn't need to refinance, but I feel better about knowing that whether I should or not.
Right, right. Well, I want to ask you. I mean, you talked about how the loan officer is going to see a lot more transactions than the agent does, which to me gives them kind of a great advantage of being able to see things from more of a bird's eye view than perhaps the agent can. Where are you finding that your most successful agents are finding their success versus maybe others who aren't?
The going back to your database is probably the first and foremost that they're getting their business from. We monitor our referral sources and work very closely with the agents. And I probably get some hate mail on this, but Zillow is number one right now still with referral source. Close ratios, Realtor.com is behind that. Facebook, social media is behind that. This is where we see people investing time and money, but only do it when you have the ability to work the leads, and so many times people say, "Oh, I've got this lead source and it was horrible." Well, for us, and we've had people tell us literally Zillow's the worst in the world. Well, I'm telling you right now, we carry anywhere between an 8 and a 13% close ratio. For online leads, you'll take that all day long.
Right.
It's how effective are you working the databases and the leads that you get. But those are what we're seeing as our top three to four out there that are working well for people.
Very good. Yeah, we've heard kind of both different sides of that, the Zillow conversation on the show, and for some, it's really, from what it sounds like, it's more of just a different type of investment. There's an investment in your time and working the relationships, and there's just straight up, hey, I'm going to spend a chunk of change to get this lead and be ready to, like you said, work that lead, and it's working great for a lot of folks. Or they will segment part of their business and get 30, 40, 50% from Zillow leads, and then the rest from their sphere of influence and their database. So
and also with the shift in the market, we're starting to see more and more agents team up and going back to the old days of doing home buying seminars. They may not be an immediate impact in moving the needle today, but they will move the needle in 6 months or so. So we're seeing more agents and real estate organizations get together and starting to do those home buying seminars again, which back in the day, those worked out really, really well.
Any other tips or advice that you give to our agents viewing to continue to grow and sharpen their business?
Yeah, I would just say focus on relationships. I mean, you'd be amazed. And when I say relationship, don't just look at whether it be a lender or a title company or whoever. You should be visiting monthly with them and brainstorming, open discussion. We truly want to be, any agent or any loan officer should want to be involved in business planning and marketing plans and things like that. Each and every one, when we talk about agents, each and one of y'all are a business, and we've got to figure out, is this business a viable business, or are we going down the wrong path? And we want you to be successful. We know the more that you're successful, the more that we're going to be successful. So we have a very vested interest in making sure the information we're giving you or the direction we're trying to give you is valid and it works. We're not just talking to talk. We want to come into a relationship and really get it to where you thrive. We know you thrive, we thrive. And then that's loyalty. That's relationship that lasts hopefully forever.
So another really easy takeaway tip that I'm hearing from that is, if you're looking for some business coaching or team up from your marketing standpoint, schedule a coffee with your loan officer and just say, hey, what's working for the other agents that you're working with, and how can I better my business?
Jeff, and I'll add this. One of the things, I have the privilege of being around some very, very successful people. And one of the tips that we've seen over the last 3-4 years that these people have taken whatever business they're in to the next level, it's get on social media. Be a social media freak. I can't tell you how much it has been able to do for so many people. And I have a saying that, I talk with my teams and the people I coach. I'm like, in order to be comfortable in life, you must first become uncomfortable. Think about that. You've got to put yourself out there. And when you do, you can live a total different life. All right. You can live an extraordinary life, but you have to get uncomfortable, because afterwards it becomes comfortable. Me staring at this little camera and watching you, it's uncomfortable, but we do it because it's going to help us grow our business.
Very good, very good. Well, I'll leave you to the last word if you've got anything else, but I appreciate already just a lot of good takeaway stuff that you've given our viewers. So thanks for all of your help so far. Any last thing that you want to add to it all?
I'll leave it with this. Remember, you make a living working. We say you make a living working 8 to 5. You make a life working beyond that. Same thing in your world. I can't say 8 to 5 in a real estate agent because you guys typically are working nights and weekends. So, I say, you work your 8-hour shift, you'll make a living. But if you want to change your life, go beyond. I promise you, it'll work. Work hard. Have fun. Enjoy everything you do. Be positive.
Well, I appreciate it. Hey, we had one more question that came in. Can we sneak this one in here?
Right now.
Mike asks, what is your best social media platform? And I will let our viewers know next week we're going to be talking specifically about social media, but go ahead and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, for us, it's Facebook all the way. Even though they've made a lot of changes because, they did get hit with potential HMDA violations and things like that, they still have a tremendous amount of data that you can still pinpoint without breaking any rules or regulations on it. So Facebook is actually a great tool. You got to learn how to work it, and you got to spend time doing it. But you can literally spend a half an hour a day, and really work that system, and you'll reap the rewards of it. Don't ever play with scared money, because people that play with scared money on investments like that, they think, oh my gosh, it's been 2 weeks, or I spent $500, and I don't have anything yielding from it. You can't think like that.
Right.
Any type of marketing, it takes months to sit there and cultivate. You got to plant that seed, water that seed all the time. It'll work out. So in situations like this, if there are a lot of people that are very successful in a certain sector and call it Facebook, then you just got to work it. Give it time to work it. If you got enough money to do 1 month, don't do it. Save your money. Try something else. But if you're trying to build a business and longevity, have the ability to invest in it for a while, and I promise you it'll work.
Well, very good. Thanks for addressing that. So we really appreciate you coming on the show. And if people do have questions, can they contact you?
Absolutely. Give me a call or email, text. I'm always accessible.
All right. Well, we really appreciate you and the helpful advice you've given today. So thank you.
Well, thank you all. God bless you. Love you.
All right, before we let you go, our viewers, we want to remind you that Fathom Realty offers 100% commission and the tools designed for your success, starting with a really great commission structure that allows you to reinvest in your business. We'll be talking a little bit more about that with your social media presence next week. But you get stock with every transaction. We have CRM technology through KV Core. You can check that out on the web. Truly affordable healthcare, a great transaction management system. Multi-tiered support. We have both agent services as well as the local leadership and a great agent community as well. So if you're thinking of making a switch, try a company that works for you rather than the other way around. So check us out at fathomcareers.com. Also, if you know of guests that you think are folks that would make great guests on this show, let us know. You can just email marketing@fathomrealty.com. Again, that's marketing@fathomrealty.com. And it might be yourself. You might say, hey, I'd love to be on your show. We've had a guest already that way. And perhaps maybe you know somebody that has a particular expertise in business or real estate. Let us know at marketing@fathomrealty.com. Just email us there, and we would love to be able to interview that person and potentially have them on the show. So check that out. Our guests next week, and I'm saying that in the plural, are Paul Estes from GoSocial Agent, who's been one of our sponsors on the show, as well as Renee Freginal from Houseopedia, and those companies work together to provide awesome social media content for agents specifically, but they're the social media experts, and so we're going to have them on the show together next week, and so make sure that you tune in for that. I think it'll be a real fun time, and we're going to be here the same time next Wednesday at 1:30 p.m., so we'll see you then.